Ohio State at Purdue, Saturday college basketball. VR, we're doing this wise guy style. The number's not out yet. What's your number on the game?
I made Purdue a 1.5 point home favorite, set the total at 136.
All right, so this is what we call a true line. This is what you think would split the result.
Exactly.
If you were betting into that number, you wouldn't have any opinion.
No, none at all.
All right, now, what do you project to be the line that actually comes out from the books, what we call the fair line, fair to split the action?
I just don't think that the odds makers have caught on with how strong Purdue truly is. And I'm hoping, actually, they bring out Ohio State as a 1.5 point favorite.
Okay, so in a way, you coming up with your true line, that's something that is a handicapping process. I think that this is the number. I would have zero opinion. Move it one way or the other, I start to have an opinion. That's something you feel strongly about. Projecting what the bookmaker's thinking.
That's the difficult part, because you don't know exactly what are they thinking. What exactly is their approach going to be? Are they going to try to get...
In a way, what they're thinking is what's going to tell you what you want to do.
Exactly. The only thing I can hope for is that they don't send it out at what I have.
Because really, like the old saying goes, wise guys bet numbers, not teams. So if they came, as much as you think right now that you think Ohio State's going to come out a small favorite, if they come out Purdue -6, you're going to love Ohio State.
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly.
If they come out Ohio State -1.5, you're going to see value on Purdue.
Exactly. And it's the confidence in your number, and that's the key.
Your true number.
Exactly. You'll never could be sure what number they're going to throw out there, and that's what it comes down to as far as whether I have a bet or not.
Now, you're a value better, which is you're saying, I trust my number more than I trust the bookie's ability to create a number, and whenever it varies by a certain amount, I'm going to take advantage of the value.
Exactly.
Now, Marco, half his game, or maybe a third of his games are value games, 2/3 are trap games, and I'm throwing that percentage out. I'll let him speak exactly to that. But let's think about what he's saying. He's saying sometimes if the bookie comes out in a way where his true number and the bookie's number is extreme the other way, a couple points, let's say, like he might like Purdue if it comes out at 4.5.
Right. He has a lot of confidence in that bookmaker's number or the odds maker's number, where I'm on the other side of the fence saying I have zero confidence in their number. Because if they were strong enough to create, if they were good at creating a strong enough number, they'd be betting into it. They wouldn't be making it.
I think with the opener, that's true. Once the wise guys touch it up, then there's another dimension to it. You know, there's the open, and then the wise guys bet it one way or the other. But the ultimate point, though, is that what you're looking for is the value. You never know what the bookie's thinking. The bookie really might have an opinion on. Let's think about this a second. The bookie, I'm looking at the game here. The bookies might have an opinion on Purdue. They might like Purdue, and all of a sudden they might come out of Ohio State -4, okay? And now all of a sudden that's them. Well, I'd be the opposite. If they came in if they like Purdue, all right, sorry about this, and they came in Purdue -1.5, that's them saying, listen, we know it's not going to split the action, but we want a Ohio State action. So I see where Marco's coming from. It's just, do you trust them enough, the bookies, to have that opinion?
Right.
And a lot of people do.
Right.
I'm a value player.
And also being able to determine what they're trying to do. Like you said, are they throwing out a sharp number because they have an opinion, or are they just throwing out a number hoping they could split the action?
Yeah, or misreading what's going to split the action.
Right.
Okay. All right. So really the takeaway for the listener here and the viewer should be more about what's VR's number and your ability to guess what the bookie's thinking. Something you're pretty good at, but that's not your real expertise. Your real expertise is this is what the number should be if you trust VR.
Yeah, because that's the job I have. That's my profession. You know, I'm not creating a number to split action. I'm creating a number to pick a winner. You know, I'm not getting. I'm not getting 11 to 10.
You never dreamed of being on the other side.
I can't afford to make a mistake because I'm laying 11 to 10. They could make a mistake here and there because they're getting that 11 to 10. So for me, the game's different. I'm a bettor, not a bookmaker.
All right, so our assumption is you're going to like Purdue here, and the number's going to come out where your number is stronger on Purdue than the actual release. Why do you feel that way?
Bottom line, we saw how vulnerable Ohio State can be against Wisconsin last week. Me and you right here said they will get their first loss at Wisconsin. That's exactly what happened. Here they are again on the road in the Big Ten, playing somewhere against a team, again, that doesn't lose at home. Purdue has not lost at home this year. They defend their court extremely well. More importantly, they're a very experienced team. So they're able to dictate tempo. That's one of the keys against Ohio State. You got to be able to dictate the tempo, especially if you're contrast to what they do. And Purdue speeds it up a lot more than Ohio State does.
So now typically handicappers feel like that the home team, especially if they're close to the same level of team. Now, if one team's a 20-point favorite, they're probably going to be able to dictate tempo no matter what. But typically with teams that are close to the same quality, the home team is better able to dictate tempo.
I agree.
And they talk about this in football with Belichick a lot, is he makes you play left-handed, which is he tries to make you do something you're not comfortable with. Some teams are more able to play outside of their preferred tempo than others. How do you look at Ohio State in that case?
In this situation, I think the ability of Purdue to speed it up is going to create problems. Because again, we said it last week, Ohio State isn't deep in their bench. They don't go all the way to the 11th man. So by Purdue being able to run them at home, I think that's going to create a lot of problems for Ohio State. I don't think they'll be able to handle it enough to where they're able to slow the game down.
So in general, though, the first question is, can the home team truly dictate tempo?
I think they will.
And then the second question is, if that's true, how will the road team be able to handle playing other than their favorite tempo?
I believe now that Ohio State did lose, Purdue sees they're beatable. You know, I mean, some teams have that air about them where you don't think they're beatable. Now we saw this team is beatable. So I think that's a boost for Purdue.
So how much of this value, so you're saying you're seeing about 2.5 points of value. How much of it is Ohio State being overrated, and how much of it is Purdue being underrated?
That's exactly what it is. I think it's a combination of both. I never thought that Ohio State is the number one team in the country. Week in and week out, I never thought so, even when they were undefeated. I say it right here, Kansas is the best team in college basketball. Okay? Forget what you're hearing. Kansas is the best team in college basketball. Pollsters finally got it correct this week. So I think it's a little mixture of both. Purdue not getting that respect because you look at the Big Ten, you got Ohio State, you got Wisconsin. You know, where does Purdue fit in that list? They're third.
And this is something we talked about recently, is oftentimes in a conference there's a first tier and a second tier, and the best team in the second tier often is overrated or underrated because there's a sense that they're a second tier team, but they're the best of the second tier. So it sounds like that's what you think is going on with Purdue.
Yeah, and I went back and saw before I started adjusting on Ohio State, because I was drinking that Kool-Aid early on a little bit too. I started seeing like, wow, are they as good as everybody's saying they are? I went back and I said, what number would I have made then, 2 months ago? And I would have made Ohio State a 1-point favorite. Going into Purdue. Right now, I make Purdue the 1.5-point favorite. Right. I'm hoping the odds makers still haven't caught up with where it is, and hopefully the marketplace hasn't caught up with it. Because you look at earlier in the week, Ohio State played Michigan State. There was tons of money coming in Ohio State. The public was loving Ohio State. Even after losing to Wisconsin, money kept coming in on Ohio State. So I don't think the market's caught up with that yet. I don't think they're going to adjust quick enough.
If you're in the top 5 in the country, and you're no undefeated teams, you're one of the best. So
they're one of the.
If they lose this game, a little shine might come off.
Yeah, right now they're top 5 team in the country. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think that the marketplace is caught up to where I think Ohio State should be ranked.
All right, so let's talk line parameters. You think there's going to be value on Purdue. At what point do you bet Purdue, and at what point don't you?
From Pick'em.
So you're playing Purdue at pick.
Yeah,
and if you only think the line's 1.5, and half is a dead number, you've only got 1 1.5 is only 2 ticks. It's from pick to 1, 1 to 1.5.
Right, because it ain't going to land on half.
2 ticks isn't enough to lay 110, is it?
I think in this spot it is. I really do. I think I was generous with this number.
So you're saying you might think this number's 2,
because of Ohio State? Yeah, to be honest with you, I could have made this at least 2.5, like you just said. But I stuck with the 1.5. I think that's what the...
All right, so if you're able to not lay points with Purdue...
Exactly. Right. If you could get them at a pick to get plus, if you could get plus, all the better. But if you don't have to lay points with this team that should be a home favorite...
So you're saying you want the best number.
It's a good bet.
Do I get this
More
straight?
times than not.
That's what you're looking
number. For. More times than not.
I just learned so. Where's my notepad?
I'm telling you, this team's going to get to the free throw line. That's going to be the difference maker. Look in the box score when the game's over. It's Purdue's ability to get to the free throw line. That's Ohio State's weakness. That'll be the difference maker.
All right, it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with VR and me. And next up, we're going to be breaking down another Saturday college basketball game, and VR is going to do an instructional video on halftime betting. Come right back.